So I'm going to talk about a topic that one of my best friends suggested because he was like, "Yo, you should talk about something else. You should try talking about a topic that you have always been invested in." I was like, that's a good idea. So we're going to talk about longboarding and the rise and the fall of it, and why I don't really see it returning. It was in an era where it fit perfectly and it served its purpose. So I've been a longboarder for about I would say 12 years now. I would say 13 because I started back in 2013. One was my first longboard. I had always skateboarded, but it wasn't until high school when I really got into it. Until like freshman year is when I really got into longboarding, and then all my friends were longboarding, and that's kind of what brought it together, man. Everyone was longboarding. It was all about getting the fastest wheels, the bearings, the trucks, being involved with the board companies, buying off Muirskate, following Liam Morgan and Patrick Switzer, all these guys on Instagram and watching the Maryhill races and watching, the tournaments, and it was so much fun. Now these tournaments are still happening. The races still happen to this day, but it's not like it was back in 2013. Now, longboarding, downhill longboarding, I think became popularized in the late 2000s. Um, there is a guy named Eric Reimer who is probably one of the best to ever do it, and he started skateboarding a long time ago, and longboarding really took off. And with his like one wheels brand, or these wheels brand, or whatever, I forgot what brand it was, but there was a brand called These Wheels, and they were awesome. I actually had a set of these wheels, um, and we saw a giant explosive I think it was in the era where Instagram felt like it was part of the West Coast vibe, and people on the East Coast wanted that vibe. So we started longboarding, and there's a community of longboarders in my town in Shepherdstown, West Virginia, and we were all high school kids, and we set the trend of, hey, let's get everyone to skate. And my buddy started his own board company. He made his own skateboards, he made his own longboards, so I would do those, the skate on his boards, and he sponsored me. And I was going on YouTube, and we were doing YouTube videos for the channel, and all this stuff. um there was a huge um portion, and I would say from 2013 to probably 2016, where longboarding was huge, and the culture around it was anti mainstream skateboarding. It was a rebellious kind of environment where you can't tell me what to do. um Longboarding is inherently extremely dangerous, especially if you are part of the downhill community, going speeds up to car speeds 45, 50, 65, 70. I mean, the guys over at Bustin' Boards, they have some of these guys who are going 75 miles an hour on a board, which is insane. And it's extremely dangerous because there's no way of stopping unless you know how to power slide. And even then, that's not a guarantee that you'll predict. There's just so much to look out for. And the skill gap is extremely high. I mean, the guys who are pros like Liam Morgan doing stand up toe slide and heel side slides, I mean, these, like, going 55 miles an hour doing this is insane. I could never do it. I always had a puck down when I did mine. I could do a little bit of the heel side standing up, but toe side, I'd always fall high side of the board. Um, and that was never good. But that's not that important. What is important though is the fact that um the what I've noticed recently is no one's selling longboards really anymore. There's no more culture. It's gone. Um, there, you know, there used to be guys like me with friends who would go out and skate and longboard. I don't see any groups of longboarders anymore. Now, I am in Texas. It's really flat here. You're mostly pushing, which is super lame. Um, I still longboard to this day. I'm 28 now, but longboarding is still a big part of my life. But it's just not as popular, dude, because you have things like electric longboards now, one wheels, electric skateboards, electric scooters, electric bikes. I mean, we're in an age where electric vehicles are the thing. Um, no one wants to exert any energy anymore. Um, and electric skateboards and longboards were a thing back when I was longboarding with a bunch of friends, but they were so overpriced, and it was like a fad at that point. But now it's become extremely popular. I still believe electric longboarding is a fad because it's not a great way to uh, travel. The best way to travel is still, if you were to do anything electric, I think electric bicycles are the best, but they're so expensive. Anyway, I'm kind of getting off topic here, but electric vehicles killed the longboard. And in skateboarding now, street skating and vert skating has always been popular. There's just a different crowd of kids, and I think that that's great. But no one, just longboarding was never mainstream enough. Longboarding was never, you know, people would look at your board and say, that's a nice skateboard, that's a big skateboard, and you'd be like, no, it's a longboard, and you have to explain that to them, and then you have to get into like, oh, well, there's different types of longboarding. There's dance, you can dance on your longboard. There's like cruiser boards, there's downhill boards, there's, you know, drop decks, top mount. It's just like there's so much to it that it's it's hard to get into. It's inherently dangerous, and it wasn't as cool as skateboarding. And I can admit that. I mean, you're wearing a helmet and hand pads and you're going down a hill, and it's stupid, really, um, to do that. It's extremely fun though. It's adrenaline. See, if you're an adrenaline seeker, it's a great sport. Um, but there are inherent risks, and I think people started realizing, hey, this is a very dangerous sport. And also, I think we just got priced out. You could get a whole setup in 2013 for like a really nice setup for like 200 bucks. Now you can't get a nice setup for you can get an average setup for about 200 now. You can't even get a good, you know what I mean? I remember caliber trucks being like 30 bucks, and now they're way higher than that. I think they're at 60 or 70 right now. And it's really a shame, dude, because longboarding was such an amazing time in American history, right? I was there when it was really popular. I still maintain my longboards. I still have my Arbor Axis that I bought in like 2013. It's a very old board. It's got age on it now. Um, all the friends that I had, like, they don't skate anymore. No, like, none of my friends skate. There you grow up, you have a family, you have kids, you're into cars or trucks or fishing, older adult stuff, coming, getting out of that young kid thing. But for me, I still like longboarding. Um, and I'll still longboard in my neighborhood. It's great exercise. People ask me you know, still they ask me like, what kind of board is that? And it just goes to show you kind of how longboarding never really got off. I think the market was good at the time, but you have stores closing. Muirskate closed their doors. And I think that when Muirskate closed their doors, that was like the end of the era. That was the end. That's the end. Daddy's Board Shop is still around, but their selection has gone down. I mean, nobody is nobody's skating anymore. They're longboarding. If they do longboard, it's a electric board. Push culture's done. I mean, they probably do those push events in New York still. I mean, that's one thing, but I feel like events are few and far between now when they were popular. So, uh that's just kind of my thoughts on that. I think longboarding served its purpose and I was glad that I was part of it. Um, I was super into downhill and I got really good at it. And there's videos of me online doing it on my old channel and on our old board company's channel. And I'm glad that I was available to do that because I know, like, back in the day, Stingray bicycles were cool and, putting a cart on the wheel to make it sound like a motor. Like, I get that. I think every generation has its um, ulterior vehicle, right? For kids to hang out and play on. So I think that the scooter generation is picked up, and it was always easier to scooter. Personally, I scootering was so easy, uh, and it's fun though. It's fun. Anyone can pick up a scooter. Um, so anyway, that's what I have to say really about the topic. I think that it won't come back. There's a lot of boards online now. People are selling, guys. I mean, you can get good deals now on Marketplace. Um, but if you want to get back in, if you want to get into longboarding, do your research. Um, it's better to do it with friends. If you don't have friends that don't want to do that, you got to find a community now. It's like a small thing. You have to, and that's the thing. Like, you really have to get into it. And for me, like, that wore on me, and I got tired of it. I don't want a longboard. I don't want a downhill anymore. I just want to cruise. I like cruising on it. I like still power sliding here and there. I like doing power slide 180s and stuff. Those are easy, and ghost flipping and all that. That's fun. But you're not gonna see me go 45 mile an hour down a hill anymore. That's just it ain't worth it. And plus Texas, there's no hills. And by the time I move, back to West Virginia or the East Coast, I'm gonna be over 30. And, like, do I really want to be doing that at 30 years old? Probably not. Um, so anyway, thanks for watching me ramble on about something that I used to be passionate about and the things that I've seen. And I think, Alba, the next topic we'll do is probably guitars, music, um, and maybe the army. We could do the army as a topic. I know my friend would like to see the army. What I have to say about the army. Um, because I'm in the reserve, and he actually tried the reserve for like a weekend, and he's like, yeah, I'm not, it's not for me. So um, he's probably interested in seeing what I have to say about that, and I'm interested in feedback. So if you guys were ever old school longboarders, or if you're even longboarding now, what are you doing? How's it been? What do you think about that topic? And let me know in the comments what you want to see in the future. All right. God bless.